Hello, today we are gonna explain the z-index and the quicksort as used in our application to determine which sprite images should be above or behind the other. If we have two sprite images, A and B, we see here that A should be behind B. We're using a type of coordinate system where x is put in this way, while y is in this way. I note here that y is inverted, and instead of negative numbers, we got positive numbers. This sprite image is at 1, 1. This one is at 2, 4. This at 3, 3. This one 4, 2. And the last one at 5, 5. The sprite image with the lowest y value should be behind everyone. And we are going to use another set of numbers which signify the z-index. Currently, the z-index values aren't correct because the one with the lowest y value doesn't have the lowest z-index value. It has 8 instead of 4. If we put the values, the z-index values in this way, 4 is the lowest, the next is 5, the next 6, 7, and 8. We're not using 1, 2, 3, although we could, because in most cases, we would have other objects in our stage, and if we're adding more objects, we would usually have a higher z-index value than 1. In addition, we are not giving everyone, the additional objects, the same z-index value because otherwise, if everyone has 4 as their z-index value, then we wouldn't be able to determine which one should be above or behind the other in terms of the z-index. The other set of numbers that we have here is for the y-axis. Right now, the y value for the lowest z-index 4 is also 4, which is wrong. It should have the lowest y value, which is 1. This is why we would need to sort the values in relation to the z-index. We have to sort them so that the lowest y value would get the lowest z-index value. We are going to use the quicksort algorithm to do this. And before we do that, I'd like to show you again our sprite images as they are positioned in our coordinate system. Now, when we are doing the quicksort, we have to check the leftmost number first, in this case, and see if the one beside it is lower or greater than it. Therefore, we check if 4 is lower than 5, and we know that 4 is lower than 5, so we don't need to swap or exchange their positions. Next, we need to check the next number, which is 3. Is 4 lower than 3? And the answer is 3 is actually lower than 4. That's why 3 should be put here, while 4 should be here. 5 is kept as is. But we're not yet done because there are 2 more numbers remaining. And we need to check whether 3 is lower than 2. And the answer is 2 is lower actually than 3. That's why we need to swap their positions in this way. And that's why 2 is here while 3 is here. There's one more number remaining, and so we need to check if 2 is lower than 1. The answer is 1 is lower than 2. So we've sorted the first position here, and right now this one is already the correct position, and it has the lowest z-index as well. We need to do the same for the other numbers, and we start off first with the leftmost after 1. 5. Is 5 lower than 4? No, 4 is lower than 5. That's why we need to swap the 2. Next, is 4 lower than 3? Actually, 3 is lower than 4. So again, we need to swap the 2. As for the final number, 3 against 2. 2 is actually lower than 3, so 2 should be put here. 1 and 2 are already correct. They have the correct z-index values as well. But we need to check the remaining numbers here. And we start off first with the leftmost after 2. Is 5 lower than 4? 4 is lower than 5. So we need to put 4 here and 5 here. And then check the next number. Is 4 lower than 3? 3 is lower than 4. That's why we need to swap the 2. 3 should be put here and 4 there. 1, 2, 3 are all right. They have the correct z-index values already. What about the next set of numbers? Is 5 lower than 4? No, 4 is lower than 5. That's why we need to swap the 2. Therefore, after doing that, we need to check and see if we got all the numbers correct, and it looks like we do. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and they correspond to the correct z-index values as well. So again, looking at our sprite images in our coordinate system, previously they had z-index values like this, but after sorting using quicksort, they now have the correct z-index values. And I have to note here that because the sprite images are actually moving around, we would have to regularly check and update the z-index so that if ever any one of them would be close to the other one and we got an overlap, we would get the correct display. That is, the one above should be on top while the one behind should be behind the other one. And because we're using the computer, we could do that regularly and not worry too much about doing that ourselves, that routine type of task ourselves. The computer helps us do that for us. All right, I think this should be enough. Thanks, and until next time.